All right, you ready for another episode?
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's what we do. We talk.
Yeah.
Too much, maybe.
Talking to a microphone about video games.
Yeah, that's what we do. So what are we talking about today? What's the deal?
All right, we're going to do a spoiler cast for Deadly Premonition. Just in time for Deadly Premonition 2 to come out. Let's do this.
Yeah. I was
Red
not prepared
Coat
for
Killer.
This.
I don't remember enough about that game. I don't even remember who the Red Coat Killer actually is, so I couldn't even do one if I wanted to. Let's do The Last of Us Part 2. Consider this your warning. We're going to spoil the entire game. We'll probably be talking about spoilers from the first game as well, because they're pretty linked together.
Yeah, they're very linked together for sure.
Yeah. So if you don't want to hear us spoiling the story, turn this off, come back to it at another point. This is your last warning. We're not going to telegraph anything else. We're just going to go into it.
Yeah.
I'm Sean Booker.
Oh, I'm Paul Fleck.
Perfect. Cool. I liked this game. I enjoyed the story. I think the story in the first one's better.
Yeah, the story is definitely better in the first one. There's things about this story I like. Whatever. I'll just get right to it. The thing I think about the story that I don't like is I think the pacing feels weird, and I think if they recut it a different way, I would have been a little more okay with it. The way they splice Ellie and Abby's story, where you do like all of Ellie's, then a thing happens, and then all of Abby to catch back up, made me kind of forget what I was getting to, and I kind of made that moment less like... I wish they had done day one Ellie, day one Abby, like back and forth a little bit, rather than just like 10 hours after. I felt like I was rushing through Abby to see what happened next at the end of Ellie's side. I was like, oh, I need to know what happens at this point. But now I gotta do this whole side story that I don't care about.
I think what might have been the problem with going 1-1, 2-2, 3-3 is you would have kept getting into scenarios of like, oh, are they about to meet? Oh, no, they're not. Oh, are they about to meet? Oh, no, they're not.
I think I would have
kind of liked
to meet?
That. Oh, yeah, now they're actually meeting.
I would have kind of liked that like intensity too, of like you never know when they're going to meet up.
But I really liked the parts in Abby's where there was some overlap, and you're like, oh, that's what was happening there, or oh, hey, it's the Hotline Miami girl. She's about to get killed.
In like
this
a
is
really
the last time
way.
anyone's gonna see this chick.
Yeah.
Like I think of specifically the Abby section where you're chasing the sniper, and then you get that real quick glimpse, and it's Tommy, and you're like, oh shit, that was awesome. And they don't even like linger on it. She doesn't even say like, shit, I know who that guy is. She's just like, we gotta keep moving. Like I loved that. That part was super cool. Because I didn't even suspect it to be Tommy. Like, I thought it was going to be, like, more scars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have made sense.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, we'll start, like, at the beginning of this, but I just kind of want to get my thought bubble out, where it's just kind of like, I don't like the pacing of the story very much. I think Abby is well written, but that's mainly probably because it feels like Ellie is underwritten in a lot of ways. With her story, and we'll get into specifics about why in a second.
I'm gonna need some back on that.
And I feel like there was a whole bunch of stuff added that I wish they had done a little bit more with, and it sounded like in a director's cut but they cut it, specifically with the Sarah fights, or the scars as they call them.
Okay.
There was a lot there that they kind of didn't touch on, like a lot of, and it sounds like they kind of did with Ellie's part, but then they cut it so that Ellie never really went to that island, but apparently she was supposed to at some point. Yeah, there's a lot in this game, and it almost feels to me like I wanted more of a lead up to it. I don't know, going from 1 to like everything that happens in this seemed like really abrupt, especially in the way that this game starts, I think. And like we can start from there, I guess. Like, because where the last game ends off, it literally ends on a cut to black screen where Ellie is asking Joel, like, basically what happened in the Firefly camp, or like, and Joel says like nothing. This is like blah blah blah, and she's like, "That's that's it. Everything's fine or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah," and then it cuts to black.
Well, the big thing is she says okay. And that line of okay is delivered so well that it's a bit ambiguous. Like
if she believes him or not.
This has been a thing for a while. Yeah. The question is, does she believe him, or has she like bought in to he is going to lie to her, and that is just the relationship will never be the same again. And that was so great about the ending of Last of Us 1 is the way they delivered that line. Just showed, how strong the writing was, and more so how strong the acting was. From the girl who played Ellie. Oh God, what's her name? Is it Laura Bailey? What's her name?
No, Laura Bailey's Abby.
Okay.
Ashley Johnson is Ellie.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no. So this takes place 4 years in the future from that, with some flashbacks for good measure thrown in during the story.
Lots of flashbacks. How did you like the beginning of the two games if you compared them?
So I was expecting the beginning of Last of Us 2 to have more of a gut punch at the beginning, because that's kind of how Last of Us 1 starts, with like about 15 minutes to half an hour into the game, your main character loses everything in his life that was important to him, and like then it cuts to a flash forward where he's been like living on like in apocalypse for a while, being a gun runner.
I was actually, because of that, because like I just said this in the main show, I remember the beginning and the end of Last of Us like perfectly, because those parts are so great. And the beginning of Last of Us I thought it was fantastic. I remember going to John's house and being like, "Hey, you got to play through this, the intro." And we played through the intro, and he didn't care. But in comparing to the second one, I almost think the beginning is kind of slow.
It's extraordinarily slow.
Not a lot's going on, and I think if this wasn't the sequel, like, because my expectations were just kind of built up. The last one had like a gut punch of an intro, like something serious went down, like a really good moment. And this one is just kind of like Ellie's living her life. This is the status quo. They're living in Jackson, and things are good. They're kind of upset with each other, but it's just they're people and they're alive. And I don't think the story really even ramps up until that 2-hour moment when Joel is killed.
Yeah, for sure. And so like just speaking on that moment quickly, because we'll speak more explicitly on it. I never saw this like weird trailer where Joel is like the one who's like kept you waiting or something, or you didn't think I'd let you go alone or whatever the fuck he says. So like if I had seen that, I would have felt like betrayed a little bit, I think. I was expecting Joel to bite it in this game. Maybe not as early as he does, I will say, but at some point. So when it happened for me, it wasn't that big of a punch to the face or anything. But I think if I had seen that trailer, it would have been.
I mean, I definitely think it was a gut punch. Not in the way of like, oh man, they lied to me. I kind of like that they played a switcheroo. That's just fun. It means I know even less of what's going on, which is great. Because there was a point where I stopped watching trailers. Because I was like, I am so... And I try to do that most of the time these days, is I'll watch pretty much like the first trailer for something. And then I'm usually like, yo, I'm bought in.
Yeah,
I'm good. And I already knew, like, they announced The Last of Us 2. Of course I'm playing that. They announced The Last of Us 3. Of course I'm playing that. Like, they don't need to sell me on anything. Either way, though, I like they had the switcheroo. They do switch that scene. It's, oh man, what's his name? Is it Jesse?
Jesse. Yeah.
Jesse. Okay. Yeah. It's Jesse actually in the game. I kept thinking it was going to be Tommy.
Yeah. That would have made sense too.
Since she was looking for him the whole time. And I didn't even know at that point, you don't know Jesse's there. Right. So I kept thinking it was going to be Tommy. I was still shocked that he died. I wasn't thinking about it, whether or not he would die in this game or not. I hadn't put any thought to it. I guess it would have probably made sense if I had sat down and thought, will Joel survive through this whole game? Will Ellie survive through this whole game? But the fact that it happened so soon, that came out of nowhere to me. I do think it's a gut punch, because I like the character of Joel.
No, I like Joel too. For sure.
I like the Joel and Ellie team together.
Yeah.
I never really came down on at the end of Last of Us 1 when they're trying to kind of show, Joel's not, maybe Joel's the bad guy. I never really came down as Joel is the evil person. I kind of understood his mentality. Yeah. But I'm glad they have all those flashbacks for kind of furthering the relationship. I'm almost kind of wish they hadn't gone into, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I was about to say, I almost kind of wish they hadn't gone into the hospital scene over and over again where Ellie finds out the truth. But then again, I do kind of like it that like those are some like really good character moments.
Sure.
So I'm going to take that back. I actually do like that they kept those in there.
Sure. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Joel, I mean, obviously I like him because I was him. Just like based on the fact that you play as like 15 hours or whatever as him in the first game, you get like a bond with the character, because yeah, you just spend a whole lot of time with him. And like, the whole idea is they're showing that not everything is black and white. There's like everything in this world is kind of gray, and like people are doing what they need to survive and stuff. And like Joel's whole problem is that he like maybe risked all of humanity because he can't let go of the idea of like that like his daughter's dead, and like Ellie might have been good. Like he has problems letting go of things, and he's, I mean, kind of a selfish shitlord, but that's fine because everybody in this universe is in their own way, and we see that
right.
in,
I think
like,
it's
a
just,
lot of ways
I think
here.
what's so good about that is they're just like Joel is just so human. Yeah.
He's
right.
human,
Like a
yeah.
typical game, Joel would been like, I'm gonna do the sacrifice and save the whole world. But instead he's like, no, I'm not going through that again. Fuck everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And then like there's also these weird ideas of, well, nobody even asked Ellie if like nobody actually got her consent to kill her for the betterment of mankind. They were just going to do it. So like what Joel did is about as the same bad as them just maybe doing it. There's weird areas of gray in this whole thing. I guess like the problem I have with this game specifically is that the trope of this is a revenge plot can only get me so far with Ellie. And like, they don't really need to do a whole lot with Ellie because they spent a lot of time with her in the first game, and she got her own DLC and everything for character development. So they don't need to really build her character more, but I would have liked if she had more. Whatever. It's the ending. I'll just say, you go through this whole game, and like, she's driven by revenge, and then by the end she's like, okay, we gotta let this go. Dina's pregnant, and like, this is just bad situation. People keep dying. We gotta go back home. And then like, big thing happens. And then the end happens, and it's like, Ellie kind of has everything, but for some reason she just can't let go of it. And then she just is like, okay, I'm gonna travel like, for half a year to like not kill somebody and lose everything.
The last quarter, that's kind of the spot I find is like the weakest. Like the whole theme of the game is kind of how like revenge, will
poisons you.
Yeah, basically, it poisons you, and this happens for both of them. Like they both lose so much. This culminates when Abby meets Ellie in the movie theater, and they have that fight. And that basically like seems like the ending. Abby wins that fight and is just about to kill Dina. Easily would have killed Ellie. Ellie had her arm broken. She wasn't going to be able to fight back. Lev was there. They could have taken the two of them out. But she says, I don't want to don't make me ever see you again. Don't let me ever see you again. That's the second time now she's let Ellie live when she could have easily just, cut the loose ends.
Yeah.
And then when Ellie decides to go back again and you get the California segment, the whole time playing this, I'm like, what are you doing? Your life is like perfect at this point. Like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It seems so weird.
It's weirdly petty in a way that like is even less than a revenge thing at this point. Like it's actual pettiness or something.
I think that kind of goes along with the whole thing with Joel before, is they're just writing these characters as flawed characters.
Sure.
it was harder for me to side with Ellie in that scenario in the same way that I was able to side with Joel.
Sure.
Because like it almost seemed like there was an unreasonable jump in logic they wanted me to make. Like like I couldn't believe Ellie would keep going at that point.
Especially when you find out that it's literal months that she traveled down there to like find her or whatever. Because like if you read notes and stuff, they had like captured Abby at the like end of her part of the outro essentially, or the epilogue or whatever, and like by the time like months before Ellie had gotten there. So like she had been traveling a long time.
I had missed, obviously it had been some length of time. They like changed Ellie's hair and stuff like that.
She got
I had definitely,
like way skinnier because she got emaciated.
I think she got skinnier during the farmhouse segment. She was already skinnier than the main game, like her first chunk. So but I must have missed those notes. I didn't know exactly how long it was, but you definitely see that Abby is a lot skinnier. Her hair is
that's cut. Who I meant. Abby is like emaciated from being prisoned.
Yeah, Abby's way skinnier. But like I said, Ellie I think has also gotten a bit skinnier just in general. But that might be just because she stopped wearing like the baggiest rain jackets that you play in her for the first chunk. But we should go through like the story so we can hit all like the beats.
Sure. Let's do it.
Joel gets killed. Revenge plot starts. And it's you and Dina heading out into Seattle. When you first get to Seattle, you get kind of the only open world segment. I wish they had done like 2 more of those.
See, I was okay with 1 because that was my least favorite part of the game.
I liked that. That came out straight from Uncharted Lost Legacy. They do the same thing there.
It stressed me out because I didn't want the feeling of missing something. So I spent way longer in that area than I probably needed to.
But they even come up and tell you, like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's everything. Like these characters almost break the fourth wall throughout the game to tell you, like, mechanical stuff of, like, you know, every time you've cleared a room, the character will say, okay, that's all of them. Which, you know, I appreciate as someone who's can't deal with that much tension. And then in this one, like, there's even a trophy for you've done everything in downtown Seattle.
Holy shit. Did you get the part where you went where you were at a weapon thing and you get holy fuck, I almost shit myself. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was even talking about that in a regular show, but I had to dance around it so much. Yeah, when you're at it, I can't remember where it is. It's sometime in
like Seattle,
day 1 or day 2.
Somewhere.
It's in Seattle, yeah. You go into a hotel. And this was actually one of the things that I was complaining about. I remember the conversation we were having. I was talking about how the game keeps breaking its logic with the listening mode.
This is what you meant. Okay.
So, because a lot of the times, you'll come up to a door, I'll start to listen, don't see anything, or you'll come up to a ledge that if once I jump down, I can't go back. It's too tall.
This game is full of that.
Yeah, so I'll listen to like, okay, I want to get ready for what I'm about to go into. I'll jump down, having seen nothing. Or I'll go in the door having seen nothing, and then all of a sudden, because I'm now past like an unpassable hurdle that I cannot go back from, then it spawns enemies that are there, which I should have been able to hear. So like with that scenario, when you're in the hotel, I was creeping around, I was listening, couldn't hear anyone, but then I open the get on the workbench, all of a sudden you get attacked while you're doing stuff. I should have been able to hear those like 5 dudes that were there.
There's a bunch of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They were in that fucking bedroom that you couldn't open.
Exactly.
I hate it. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like the game sometimes breaks its own logic just to make it scarier to get these moments out of you, which is someone who doesn't deal like with the all the tension and the jump scares. That's a bit annoying, but neither here nor there.
Sure.
So where are we at? We're in Seattle. You're going through. Yeah, you go through the downtown part. I liked the downtown part. I still think it's weird they only did it one time. The game's so long, I easily could have fit more of those in there. But anyways, what happens right after that one?
When your fucking horse explodes when you jump over a barrier.
That's right. And just before that, you come across 2 of the guys that helped kill Joel, who have been like tortured by Tommy.
Yes, yeah. So we find out that they're part of the Washington Liberation Front called the WLF, or Wolves, as
Yeah.
they are referred to in a lot of things. I'll say that like searching around the buildings and reading the notes of the people that lived there during like there's notes of like the people that lived in these parts of Seattle as the WLF were like fighting back against Fedra, or the Feds, which is like the government trying to take care of everything with the outbreak happening or whatever back in the day. That stuff was like weirdly gripping, where it was just like learning about like the Russian guys. I can't remember their name. I think it's like Yanni or something like that. And like his wife, and like just learning about the people that lived here as they're like sending notes to each other about like whether or not they should be joining the WLF, or well, there's no choice now, they've taken over the area. I thought that stuff was actually really,
yeah, a lot
really
of good
cool.
kind of backstory stuff. It was always definitely interesting when someone wrote like, "Oh man, I've been bitten. I think this is it for me," and then that's like the end of the note, and you're like, "Oh, this guy's got to be somewhere around here then."
And he is, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They did that in the first game really well too. I remember the first game, it was in the sewers. The guy that like was living in the sewers, and then he like got away and got a bunch of people to live with him, and then you like find their little camp, and it's just like a whole bunch of like corpses and monsters and stuff, and you're just like, holy shit, these are the fucking people that we read about. Like they did that again in this. So
speaking of like underground kind of areas and whatnot, we totally skipped over when you're before Joel gets killed. There's like a snowstorm, and you go into like a library with Dina.
yeah.
And then you come across like I forget what his name is, but he's like an old dude who was friends. Eli something, yeah, another guy from Jackson, and he's been growing weed in like the basement of the library for years. That was just kind of just a cool find. You get some really good character development between Dina and Ellie there. And Jesse gets introduced again there as well.
That's actually where I think you find out that she's pregnant, and like where things. That's not where.
Wait,
or is it later?
No, you don't find out she's pregnant until you've already found the theater. Because as soon as you find the theater, that's when she starts getting sick and she stops hanging out with you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's after the part where like Ellie shows that she's immune. Okay. Yeah. They like.
Well, so Ellie does tell her about it, I think, in the Eli area, but she doesn't. But she doesn't
believe her. Yeah.
Because they're talking about all like their scars and stuff.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And she doesn't believe her. That's when Jesse like shows up though, because he'd been trying to find her and whatnot. But yeah, no, she doesn't mention the pregnancy until the theater, because she's been getting sick and like nauseous, and she can't help you out anymore. And that's when Dina's no longer part of your team for like the rest of the game.
That's such a bummer too, because like I mean, I'll just admit it. I wasn't team anybody in this game because like I need some time to warm up with them. Obviously, I'm team Joel and Ellie because I had a full game with them, but like learning about them. And I was starting to warm up to Dina because it was like we're having these sweet little moments and like they're having good little banter. And then all of a sudden, Dina has left your party. Essentially, it's like, oh crap.
I definitely liked when I had a teammate because it just makes the game less stressful.
Yeah.
Because they're talking to you and stuff, so the game becomes less scary when there's an NPC there with you. Sure. By the end of the game, I'm team Dina. Like Ellie can go fuck herself.
Yeah, Dina makes a lot of sense. Like, and that's a huge loss for Ellie. I think losing Dina was like real bad.
Yeah, no, I'm actually pretty glad that when Ellie does come home, it's just empty. Yeah. She's like not waiting for her. Like good on Dina.
Not putting up with.
All right,
that
so
shit.
the horse gets blown up. You get captured. That's a cool moment with Dina where she like shoots through the skylight and then you like bust your way out through like I think it's a school.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's when you first start taking on like the wolves.
Yeah.
As you're like sneaking around downtown. I guess these areas are a little open. Not as open as the first downtown Seattle with like distinct buildings to go in, but there's a bunch of empty gas stations and buildings that you can find stuff, just kind of people everywhere.
Yeah.
And then where does that move into?
I mean, it spends a lot of the
you get
time.
To the hospital.
They're chasing they're chasing her. Yeah, is it that she gets to the hospital or does she go to the...
Well, she goes to the hospital by herself. So after that, they must find the movie theater at some point because we have to lose Dina.
Yeah, so I think that's like them getting away. And then that's where we learn of the new infected as well in the sewers that like, the shamblers that like explode into the gas that burns the corrosive gas.
I hate the shamblers so much, man.
Yeah, they're very bad. It's that huge red area, and then after the red area...
That part was real cool. In the subway with the red light where you can kind of sick the enemies on each other.
Yeah.
That was very fun. That was always really great to do that. There's a kind of similar part near the end when you're with the Scars on their island and there's a fight between the two, and I was actually being like mindful of who I was shooting because I was like, I don't want to shoot all of one side because then I have to fight the whole other side. So I'm gonna try and like even this so you guys keep fighting each other.
Yeah. That's pretty good too. Those moments are good when like there's stuff going around and you're just trying to like survive basically through it.
Yeah, there's a almost every moment where it's like a cinematic one. Like I think of the first Abby one where you're running and then you find Joel and Tommy, which again, like we didn't talk much about that scene. When the turn happens and she just like blasts Joel's knee off.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, what the hell? Holy smokes, this is bad.
That part is getting a lot of people kind of riled up online. Obviously because they like Joel and stuff, and I get it. But a lot of people are saying that like, since when does Joel just become this trusting old man that like meets a random person and then is like, yeah, everything's totally fine. Let's go to your group of survivors or whatever. Because he was always kind of like, like not shifty. What's the word I'm looking for? He never
like
was
cautious,
like a trusting,
guard up.
cautious and trust. Like he was never a trusting person originally. So like a lot of people are basically lambasting this, and to some points I agree, where it feels like it's a plot convenience to have Joel and Ellie just kind of stupid in this game so that bad things happen to them to drive the plot forward, which is why Abby is very well written because it feels like they spent more time on her story, frankly, to me. Where Ellie's just like, I'm mad, I'm gonna go kill Abby. Abby has like a full-fledged like character arc and like story going on with her. And like to some point I can kind of agree with it, which is why I maybe that stuff doesn't like sit with me as well, because I like Ellie. And like by the end I did end up liking Abby. Well, I liked her enough anyway. She still killed my boy, but whatever. But like Ellie specifically turns into like the biggest fucking idiot. And I don't understand why they did that unless it was just to like make it an easier time to accept Abby.
I mean, not that I can like put words in their mouth. I feel like, you know, they had a new character they wanted to tell a full story with.
Yeah.
And I think they were just also telling like, hey, the story is about, you know, it doesn't always end up good for the hero. Revenge is not always the best thing. And we're going to show you someone who is just self-destructive.
Well, because I mean, the hero of this game really is Lev, right? Like, let's be real.
Lev's awesome.
Lev is like the actual like. Apparently, Lev is. I can't remember what language it is, but Lev like literally means heart in some language, and like that makes sense because he is like the only one with one in this game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to like, I can't pick a side between Team Abby or Team Ellie. Ellie, I just don't like where she goes with her story, and Abby, you know, Abby killed Joel. Like, I can't be Team Abby either. I think it's easier to like, yeah, I don't know. Can I be Team Dina?
Dina's great. Like, she actually turns out to be really level-headed, and like, she could have been really good for Ellie, but Ellie throws it all away. Yeah. Weird.
All right, where are we in the story? We get to the hospital.
Get to the theater.
They get to the theater. You know, they start finding out where kind of the wolves locate. It ends up being that Ellie has to go to the hospital.
I think Ellie has to go to the hospital to get stuff for Dina, maybe?
No, she's just looking for one of the people, and she knows Nora's there.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
she knows Nora's a part of the squad, and she has the pictures of them and stuff like that. Goes to the hospital. I think that's like the next big story one, where you're like chasing Nora through the hospital while they're all trying to like shoot you and whatnot.
Right.
Which ends up leading you down into like the basement the first time you go there briefly when it has the spores. And then you get that like really crazy moment where you like torture Nora.
Yeah.
From like Nora's perspective. And that part was gross, man. You don't actually like see it really, obviously, but it was still just, that was, I think, one of the more brutal moments in the game.
Yeah, I like that moment. I fucking hated Nora. I couldn't stand her. We've skipped actually a part. Well,
Okay.
kind of. On the way to the hospital, you meet the Seraphites for the first time. The crazy cult.
They're like right outside the hospital, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Man,
and
those
that's when
guys
you get hit
suck.
with an arrow.
Yeah.
You have to like pull the arrow out of you.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Those guys
crazy for
suck.
sure.
I fucking hate fighting those guys. Specifically, there's a point later on where you're going through like a giant parking lot or something, like a parking lot, and then like a little area with buildings, and that part actually took me like an hour to get through.
The parking lot's really long. I actually remember I was doing pretty good, and then eventually I just alerted all of them, and I just ran to the exit. Like, I was just like, I gotta get out of here. Like, there's so many of you guys.
Once you alert one, you're fucked. Unless you've been killing them, there are so many of them. It's crazy.
Okay, so back to the theater. She knows that Abby is... She says that Abby's at the aquarium.
Yeah.
So the next part of the game is just basically making your way to the aquarium. This is when you meet up with Jesse, it must be, right?
I think, yeah, you overhear... You see smoke at some point, and then you hear them chasing somebody or whatever, and we think it's Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah. But it ends up being Jesse. That's when you do the, like, car chase scene. That was just pretty ridiculous.
Oh, I guess that's why we should say, maybe. The whole reason they're actually out isn't necessarily for revenge. It's to bring Tommy home, because he went out for revenge. They're looking for Tommy the whole time.
They're looking for Tommy. I mean, it's kind of understood.
Help. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of understood, like, because you get to a point where Jesse's like, hey, this is getting too dangerous. We need to get Dina back to Jackson.
Yeah.
And then Ellie's like, whoa, but what about Tommy? And Jesse's like, okay, yeah, Tommy. And like, you're sure we're gonna find Tommy and then bail? And she's like, yup. And then you get to a point where it's like, but he was spotted. He was seen over here.
Yeah.
Why are you going that way? And she's like, I have to go to Abby.
Yeah.
And then you split up with Jesse at that point.
Right. So like it's not that we're surprised to see Tommy necessarily at that, or we're surprised to see Jesse, but we're looking for Tommy, which is why seeing Jesse like at this point is a surprise. But then he hooks up.
Yeah, we didn't know Jesse was there, that he had come, but we knew Tommy was there. He did the torture and such, and yeah. But yeah, so you do the car chase scene with Jesse, which was pretty ridiculous. Yep. And then eventually, you split up with Jesse, and then you go do the aquarium, which leads you to find Mel and Owen.
Mel and Owen, yep, that's right.
And then pretty crazy, you end up killing them. Ellie does not handle it well when she finds out Mel is pregnant.
Right.
And then that's when Tommy and Jesse show up.
Right, yeah.
Which, story, this leads into Abby showing up at the theater, killing Jesse immediately.
Yeah, just so unceremoniously, which sucks because I like Jesse. He was good.
Yeah, oh, for sure. There's a few characters that you're like, oh, this person's pretty cool, that just get killed like so fast, and then they're just like never even like mentioned again. Like they have to
and then
move
Tommy
on.
gets shot as well.
Tommy doesn't get shot, but he's not like dead. Like, it was weird with Tommy because I actually thought he was dead by the end of it.
Yeah.
But then he does come back. At that point, he is still totally alive because he's just on the ground, and she's telling Abby to like get rid of her gun, and she's like, "You killed all of my friends," and then that's when it cuts to 3 days ago. Now you're playing Abby for the next like 12 hours.
So this is where my problem comes in. Is that I needed to see what happened next, and now I'm stuck playing Abby for 10 to 12 hours. So it's not necessarily that I don't want to see Abby's side, because I kind of do, obviously. It's just that it's felt like such a blue balls moment where it's like, oh no, what? And then
I think that's just good. That's good writing, right? Like that was a good cliffhanger.
I guess bad pacing though, because I didn't feel like any of the stuff in Abby's side that wasn't part of like the wolves mattered. I really
see. I disagree. Because like, are you saying like none of the stuff with the scars was interesting?
Well, I'm saying that Abby is literally Joel, where she has like a tough heart, and then she meets this kid that she gets along with that shows her how to love, and she loses everything. Like, it's Joel from the first game again. Down to the point where she makes... Oh, actually, this sucks. What? Why can't she bring a knife, dude? She has this, like, big militia group where she can get rifles and stuff. Why are you building shivs? Get a knife. Fuck. I hate building shivs.
I see. Yeah, so she ends up like Joel in the first game. You have to build your shivs again. Ellie gets that just because she has like always a knife on her.
She has a knife, yeah. Like, Abby, but bring a knife.
Abby has her own advantages as well. She gets a way better bow. Like, the crossbow is sweet.
The crossbow is very good. Holy crap.
She also just fights better. Like, cause she's so much stronger.
Yeah. I still like try to not fight if possible, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely try not to fight. She also gets the flamethrower.
Yeah, that's true. I only used that like twice.
I basically used it in the hospital. That was about it.
Yeah. That one I felt like I had too good to use syndrome for some reason. Also, it seemed like it was too obvious to like poke my head out and burn somebody, and then like 20 other dudes will look at me. Always seemed better to just use a bow.
It's not a stealth one for sure. No. Yeah. Okay, so you're playing Abby. Abby's whole deal is she was the daughter of and that's the big question is like why, up until this point we're wondering why did they kill Joel. We're kind of under the assumption it has something to do with revenge for him taking Ellie away from the Fireflies.
Something to do with the Fireflies.
Because they do show the final scene in episode of Last of Us 1 near the beginning of Last of Us 2, so they're wanting that to be fresh in your head. But we don't fully know like specifically like why like that's just the idea. We haven't seen it play out. That's just what you're thinking. You find out Abby is the daughter of the lead surgeon, and apparently the only person alive who can do the procedure to get the like immunity gene out of Ellie's brain.
It was weird because I had played that part like less than 12 hours before starting this game up.
I'm curious, is it the same character model?
Oh, I don't remember that, but I do remember instantly shooting him in the head before he talked to me because I was Joel and I was like, fuck this shit, I don't care about you. And then shot his two nurses as well who did nothing. So I definitely just fucking murdered everybody. But this is why I bring it up. Somebody played that game and said they were specifically doing a pacifist run, so they threw a bottle to knock him out, so they never killed him, making this game make no sense for them.
Sure. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
One thing we passed over, I don't remember when it is. There's a bunch of flashbacks with Ellie and Joel. They touch on, eventually Joel does tell her the truth of what he did and stuff like. But the one I just really wanted to call out was the dinosaur museum.
The dinosaur museum. Yeah. Her birthday.
That part. Yeah. Her birthday. That is just a great moment. I think it's like the closest you kind of get to like the giraffe scene in the first one of just like a pure moment of just like utter bliss.
Yeah.
And then like the rocket ship part is just really nice.
Yep. That's a really nice
And you
part.
get to put your hat on the dinosaurs. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I tweeted a bunch of pictures
great.
that I took.
I saw those. Yep.
Just for the hell of it. Also, that's just fuel to make you want to hate Abby more. Like that, they had to remind you what you were doing because there's a lot of game in between story stuff.
I mean, it works. Like, because you play Abby before she kills Joel. And that kind of makes you be like, oh shit. Like when you first play Abby, you're like, who's this other character? Like, is this Ellie's mom? Who is this? Why is this person important enough that I'm playing her? Like, who is this? Blah, blah, blah. And then you run into Joel and that's cool. And then like next cutscene happens. That's when Abby kills her. And it was like, oh shit. I was just playing the bad guy.
Yeah.
of the game. Wow. And it reminds me of like slight spoilers for the first 5 hours of what is it? Assassin's Creed Rogue, where you play a Templar for like the first 5 hours, or is it 3 that you do that? I can't remember. They're so close together, but you play a Templar for the first like 5 hours of the game, and then you take over as the actual hero. Anyway. So it puts a weird feeling, at least I had, when you switch over to Abby for that second chunk of the game, because you are playing the big bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, I don't like this character at all.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard, because like when you have to like fight Ellie later on, it's like, who am I cheering for right now?
I don't really want either of you to win, kind of.
Yeah, like I just spent 10 hours with Abby. Like Abby's okay, but like Ellie's Ellie, man.
Yeah.
I just broke her elbow.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to, like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to care about Abby's friends, but they're kind of shitlords too. Like, nobody in this world is good, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, is nobody's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Abby's at the wolf camp. They have a huge infrastructure going, just like Jackson, way bigger than Jackson. Like they got schools and all this sort of stuff. You got your roommate Manny, and he's a pal.
Oh, I fucking hate Manny.
Oh, what's wrong with Manny?
Oh god, he reminds me of people I just hate in real life. Everything.
Oh,
about him is bad.
I like Manny. He was fun. And much like Jesse, he just gets killed like immediately out of nowhere, and they just don't even touch on it again. They have the story has to keep going.
Yeah, a lot of people die out, and then the story just keeps going in this for sure. Yeah. Like Joel.
So yeah, Abby. This isn't where you meet Isaac, is it?
Oh
no, because you go on a short mission first, and you get attacked by the Scars.
Right. Yeah.
With Mel and Isaac and Manny. Once you're done that part,
yeah,
that's when you meet Isaac.
He's
the head of the wolves. He's
a psychopath.
He's like the big bad guy. I'm surprised we actually didn't get more from him later on. To the point, because he quote unquote died off screen. Yeah. I'm almost expecting Last of Us 3 to like reveal him again.
Yeah,
or something or the DLC is about what happened to that guy. It is crazy that they did not.
Piece of shit. Yeah,
yeah. He's torturing Scars. Anyway, he wants Abby and Owen. No, he wants Abby and Manny to like lead the charge on the Scars Island. Yeah. And Abby's like, yeah, okay. What about Owen? Owen? And there's this big thing about whether or not Owen shot one of their own, which I don't remember. Did that happen in a cutscene?
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I kept thinking, like, was this a cutscene and it was actually like Ellie that killed him, but it just seemed like they got blamed on Owen? I could not remember exactly what happened, but for some reason Isaac is not happy with Owen because they think Owen betrayed them.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So you start a big trek to get to the aquarium.
Right.
Which there's flashbacks about why the aquarium is important to Abby and Owen. Abby's also ripped. You walk past a gym, and I was like, man, I don't even have a gym, and you guys are in the apocalypse right now. Jealous.
Some would say maybe we are too. Anyway.
Around this part, everyone on Twitter is arguing about how Abby looks unrealistic, and those people are insane.
I've definitely met girls bigger than her. I've seen women that have muscles. That's not a new thing.
People are weird. Did you see all the death threats that Laura Bailey was getting because of what Abby does to Ellie in the game?
I did. Yeah.
That is actually insane. Could you imagine someone getting upset at an actor because of a character they played?
I think that's happened a lot.
Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. Anyway,
it's actually fucking crazy for sure. Also, my argument for any of this is that if you're living in that environment, you would probably be buff as hell if you're surviving. Especially if you're frontline going out scavenging and shit. You're having to crawl and climb on stuff. You have to kill these fuckers with your bare hands a lot of the times. Like, you
Yeah,
would
I
definitely
mean,
be
you would
strong.
definitely be like fitter than someone who sits around a lot. It would also depend on how much like nutrition you're able to get.
They eat burritos a lot in this game.
They're pretty fine because they have all that infrastructure. But if you were like kind of living in the forest, kind of living on your own,
Yeah, you'd be
if
gone.
you didn't have the nutrition to kind of back up all that physical activity, you won't put on that kind of size and strength.
That's
so
true.
you kind of need both. But Abby is just a killing machine. Like,
Yeah.
she looks fucking amazing. Good for her. So I'm trying to think. Any story moments before you hit the aquarium for the first time?
No, it's just meeting up with Scars and like trying to like get through them or whatever. There's not a. I think there's a couple set pieces. I can't remember. Is her part? No, never mind. It's Ellie. I was gonna say the part where like the flooded streets and the big storm on the way to.
That's Ellie because you get the boat. That's when you first get a boat. That was actually kind of a cool moment. Yeah. With the train that was like hanging
and the sniper's nest.
Yeah, and that's what I did is I went up there and I shot everyone from below, and then I realized, wait, why didn't I do this with the rifle? Because I did it all with the pistol.
Holy fuck! Why? That's so weird.
I don't know, because I was playing the game kind of like pistol first, go through my pistol stuff and save my like strong guns for like when they're up close and I just need them dead immediately. So I guess that was the mentality. But then I realized, wait, there's so much sniper ammo or rifle ammo up here, and the reticle's so much smaller. This would have been so much easier.
Yeah.
But that is kind of a cool moment for sure. For sure. Did you, by the way, side note, there's 2 trophies, one for getting a special ring and then one for getting a special artifact.
I definitely got the ring from the bank vault.
Yes, which I think, and I didn't look it up, I think might be a reference to Uncharted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
I think. I didn't find the artifact. I don't know what's.
I don't know. I might have. I don't remember what it would have been though. Oh, I think it was in the Chinatown shop. I think there's an artifact you can get there.
Oh, really? Okay, I definitely went to that shop, but I didn't see it.
Like an egg, I think. Like a golden egg or something.
I'll take your word for it.
I think that might be it.
Okay, she gets to the aquarium. She finds Owen. Owen wants to leave and go to Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
What day is it that happens the night scene where you meet Lev and
it's the next day. The part we're talking about right now is where they fuck. That weird, awkward scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think that was another example of like they're just human and like emotions are just weird going on in this world, and they're taking whatever small piece of happiness they can find.
It's an awkward scene.
For sure.
Weird scene.
But then why does she leave? Why does she leave the next day?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what. So the next day, Mel shows up. At the aquarium, like as she's leaving or whatever. Why the hell was Mel there though? Probably just to meet up with Owen since they're together.
Because Abby's not on the way to the hospital yet because she has to meet Lev and his sister first.
Oh my god, why the hell does she leave?
Yeah, why did she leave that one? I don't remember at all. Like, okay, so let's work backwards from the nighttime moment. So she gets captured. When does she get captured, though? What is happening?
She gets captured in the night scene. That's the scene that they showed, like, as the teaser for Last of Us back, like, years ago.
Right. She doesn't get captured at night. It's still light out when she does get captured.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
She meets Lev and
part.
Yara during the night scene.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to work backwards between those two. What was she doing when she got captured? I don't remember, man. Is she just on her way back to the group?
I feel like
she's just heading back to like Isaac and them, to the wolves. Because Owen says he's out, and she says, no, I'm not going to go with you to Santa Barbara on this, what she thinks is a wild goose chase.
Yeah. She's definitely captured just kind of like not randomly, but definitely like after. Fuck, I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, she gets captured by the scars, and then we get what was the original first trailer for Last of Us 2, where she gets like hung up by the neck.
Yeah.
But then Lev and what's his sister's name?
Yara,
right. Come and basically save her. Pretty brutal moment. You know, Yara's elbow gets like smashed in with a hammer.
Yeah.
I seem to recall the teaser actually being more brutal. I thought someone got gutted during that scene.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it again. I don't remember that scene.
It's been a while. And you get that cool, like, you have to fight your way out with all the zombies coming at you, and all you have is like a hammer. I died so many times during that.
I didn't like that part, to be honest with you.
It was hard. There's a couple times where it's like they kind of almost ruin the momentum to like make sure there's challenge there. And another one was when you're in the sky bridges, which,
yeah,
you know, I loved the sky bridges. There's one that I kept falling off of.
Oh.
And I almost said to myself, I wish you couldn't fall off, because I've fallen off like 3 times now, and it's kind of killed all the cool momentum. To now I'm just like, can we just get past this?
Yeah.
Like, I understand, hey, it would be too easy if you couldn't fall off. But it's like, this game is about like the cinematics.
Yeah.
Like, isn't, like, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yep. I definitely agree.
So yeah, you escape with Yara and Lev. There's a pretty tense moment where you're trying to get out of a building, and the enemies just keep coming at you, and then you eventually like crawl out through a bus or like an ambulance or something like that.
Yeah. I guess like it's important to say Yara and Lev are labeled apostates, or like runaways from the Seraphite group, which is why they're being chased down.
And you know what? You had it out of order, because what happens next is Abby leaves Lev and Yara in the trailer, and then she goes to Owen. That's right. When they fuck.
You're right.
And then in the middle of the night, Abby's like, I gotta go back for those kids
and get them. Yeah.
So I actually, what happens in the first night? Or was that all?
That's where she gets captured. That has to be.
Okay. So yeah, that's before she even gets to the aquarium.
I think she gets captured while she's looking for Owen, going to the aquarium.
Must be. That must be what it was. Okay, so she wakes up. She realizes I have to go back for those kids to make sure they're okay, because, you know, they saved my life.
Yep.
That's when you find out that Yara's like doing pretty bad. Her arm is like bright red.
Yeah, it's so gross. Oh my god.
It looks so unnatural. It's like, that can't be good.
Yeah.
It's like a cartoonish color of red. So she brings them back to the aquarium. That's when Mel's there, and they're like, we're going to have to operate, which then sends you
to the hospital.
And you get the cool little cutscene where Lev's like, what if I can get you there in 2 hours?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's like, we have bridges. And I thought this was so cool that I guess Seattle is just so overcast at all times that they have built bridges at the top of skyscrapers.
Yeah. And they're so rickety and scary. Holy shit. I'm afraid of heights.
I liked climbing up there and stuff.
Bad.
That was cool. The fights up there were pretty cool. Going back down sucked when you had to go through like the spore infected filled building. That sucked. And I like how Abby's like, I hate this building. And then you have to fight like a shambler or something. She's like, I really hate this building, Lev. And Lev's like, oh, I don't know. We usually took the elevator.
I love
past like 8 floors of absolute terror.
I love when you're going across the big one, the like huge like building to building place, like before you get to the building where you start going back down. And Abby's like all scared and going really, really slow across it. Lev's just jumping across. And she's like, so what's up with you and Owen? She's like, it's off the time, Lev.
Yeah, Lev's just like jumping along and whatnot, and Abby's freaked out because I think that's one weakness for Abby is she's scared of heights.
Yeah, same. I get it. I felt that moment so bad.
Okay, so they get to the bottom, and then they're basically at the hospital. She says, Lev, stay here. So she just tries to like waltz in, and then she gets, apparently everyone was like, oh, you went AWOL, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Nora gets you out. And that's kind of like about playing it separately is you kind of know like, oh, at this exact moment, Ellie is sneaking around on like a different floor.
Yeah.
I kind of liked when they would touch a little bit like, oh, I know exactly where Ellie is right now. This is kind of interesting. Or when they're saying like, yo, everyone, we're heading out to go clear out the hospital. I'm like, oh, are you? That's where you die, Nora.
Yeah.
You are not coming back. Like, I kind of liked those things, is you kind of know a bit more than the characters because you just played through it.
Or like why when Ellie gets there, there's like not a million people around. It's because they sent a lot of people with supplies because they're leaving that area. Just like shit like that. I really like that stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's again, that's, you know, like you meet the Hotline Miami player, the girl with the PS Vita, which that was so weird. When I first killed her, I like checked to see what it was.
Yep, same.
And you hear the music, and then when you meet her on day one with Abby, and Abby's like, "Oh, how's the game?" and she's like, "Oh, it's good. It's hard though. Music's awesome."
Yeah. I mean, she's right.
There's another dude who plays the Vita as well. I could not tell what that game was.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, I think it was in like the mess hall when you get like the burrito the first time or whatever. There's another guy with a Vita, and I could not tell what game that was.
Oh, okay. Neat.
Anyway, Abby's at the hospital. She needs to get medical supplies for Yara.
Yeah.
Nora's like, hey, there's nothing left. It's all shipped out. The only place we haven't checked is the basement. But really, like, you don't want to go in there. There's a reason we haven't gotten there yet. It's like really bad. And yeah, it's just messed up. It's like it was ground zero for Seattle. Where you fight the monster, like the four-headed weird thing that gets like a piece of it like breaks off, and then you have to fight that. Yeah. And that thing had like a weirdly high amount of health.
Yeah.
Like at one point I started chasing it because I was like, I am done with this section. I want it over.
Yep.
And I just kept pumping it with shotguns, and I'm like, how is this guy still alive? Oh my god.
That thing was crazy.
I was so over like them stalking me with that guy that I was just like, screw it. I know you're around that corner. I'm just running in there with a shotgun.
Dude, the stalkers suck. I fucking hate them so much.
They are, because you can't hear them. I hate the stalkers quite a bit. Yeah. They do suck for sure.
That part's cool. I really like the hospital basement. Good atmosphere.
I'm trying to think.
Weird boss fight. Just chef's kiss. Everything I like.
It pretty short actually.
Very short.
Now that I think about it, you just kind of get the power on, and then you fight the big guy, and that's about it. For the
maybe
most part.
like half an hour at most.
Yeah, probably a bit longer for me because like you had terrified me of it, so I was like going real slow.
Yeah.
All right. What was next? She gets out of the hospital. She has the supplies. I think is it just like a cutscene back to the aquarium at that point? No, there is a bit of fighting because you come out of the hospital and then you run into Lev, and Lev's like, "Yo, where have you been? It's been a long time."
Yeah.
And I think that's when you get a boat, isn't it? Is that when you get a boat? And then they cutscene back to the aquarium?
Could be, yeah. All I remember is, like, if you had told me that you just go right back to the aquarium, I would believe you. I don't remember anything. Like, I remember getting the supplies, and then the next thing I remember is, like, them amputating her arm.
Yeah, and then you get a bunch of character building of, like, her talking to Yara, like, about Lev. This is when you get, like, a whole bunch of backstory about kind of what Lev has gone through and why Lev is who he is, and a bunch of the stuff with the mom.
Yeah.
And is that when Lev runs away?
Yes, that is.
Okay. And then so Abby leaves to go after Lev with Yara.
Yeah.
She's like, you got to get this boat working. The player's like, oh, these two are dead. Like, Ellie's about to show up. This is when these two die.
Yeah. This is day 3. You go looking
I liked
for
the island part stuff the whole time. I think mainly because there was no infected, so it wasn't scary.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
It was just easier to get through.
I just wish they had done more with the Seraphites, where they like have this weird cult, and then they're kind of like a side player. Like, I just wish there was more in that. I guess they could do DLC or something, but
maybe. Yep.
Also,
so you like stealth your way through the island. I loved the shot where you see like their whole village, and it's huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that was pretty good. Eventually, you get to Yara and Lev's place, and you find that Lev had to kill his mom because she attacked him.
Yeah.
So you're all trying to escape together. Yara. Oh, and this is when Isaac shows up.
Yes.
and he's about to like, and Abby
They're attacking
Yeah, they've been attacking for a while, a little bit. Yeah. Isaac shows up and Abby's protecting Lev, and then Yara shoots Isaac in the back, and then that's the last you see of Isaac again.
And Yara gets
weird.
fucking destroyed. She gets like shot like a million times, right? She gets
Yara
like
does,
murdered. Yeah.
Well, you almost think she's dead before that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she's like on the ground, and you're about to get killed by Isaac, and she saves you guys.
Yeah.
But yes, she gets destroyed. Man, if Led had just not gone back to the island, so many more people would be alive.
Yep. For sure. I guess that was his like human moment of having to like do something that fucks everything up.
I guess so. Yeah, just like every other character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, though, not seeing Isaac, what happened to him? That dude has to be alive.
Yeah.
Like he died off camera. There's no way he's dead. Okay, what happens? I'm trying to think.
The escape,
because it's
with the giant war happening.
When is like the running through? Oh, that's when they get like the horse, right?
Yeah.
But isn't there a part when Abby is kind of like fighting both teams at once? When is that?
It's that part. The horse stop you.
But
sneak through a building. You get onto a horse. You go past a whole bunch of villages and like people trying to shoot at you. And then I can't remember if your horse dies. I'm pretty sure it does because horses die in this all the fucking time. And there's a bunch of burning buildings that you're trying to get to a boat to get off the island at the
right.
docks.
But there's definitely some fighting where the two sides are fighting each other and you're like a third party and Lev isn't with you. When is that?
That's as you're going to the house to find Lev.
Is that as you're finding Lev? Okay.
With Yara,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I like actually just, and this kind of touches on like the whole game. I like the backstory they gave for the scars.
Yeah.
In which there was like a woman who was kind of their leader and like wrote the prophecies that they kind of live by.
Yeah.
Who was someone that was tortured by Isaac.
Yeah.
But then I guess when she passed away, the scars kind of like radicalized her, teachings or whatever. And that's when they started like hanging people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stringing them up. And Lev tells you a bunch of this kind of backstory and stuff when Lev is trying to like explain, the scars aren't what you think they are, Abby.
Yeah. Actually, Lev doesn't even like that you call them scars.
Right. Scars seems to be like a slur that like non-scars refer to them as. And you've been saying Seraphites is their name.
I guess like for people listening to this who might not have seen it or whatever, the reason they're called that is because they have this like ritual where they scar their face to be imperfect or something like that.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I did know they had scars on their mouth, and I kept wondering if they did that weird like Joker thing, when he talks about when you like cut the sides and like rip your own mouth. That's what I kept thinking about.
Yeah, there's like some writing about it where to become like you have to become like imperfect or whatever. There's a whole like dude writing a journal also where he's writing about like he's scared about the ceremony and like how it's going to hurt or whatever, but it's for the betterment or blah blah blah. Like it's weird. Right
on.
That's why I wish they dug more into it, because I think that stuff's kind of interesting. The weird like things that happen in Apocalypse when society has crumbled and people have to create their own weird societies.
Yep.
Weird shit.
Okay, so you escape. There's a pretty big, pretty crazy fight near the boat where you're fighting like a huge dude and you
I
like
hate
crush his
those
skull.
fights. I hate those so much. Not specifically with him, but yes, specifically with him as well. Anytime there's a big dude with a hammer, they just like are harder to kill because why not? Because game, and I hate that.
You can kill them with a shiv though, easily.
Yeah, you can like still stab them or whatever, but if you're like fighting them, they take more than a shot to the head, which is stupid.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I saw. I think I heard this on like Waypoint. One of the kind of weird inconsistencies with this game is they kind of went out of their way to be like every character has its own name, and when you kill them, they're gonna be like, "Yo, Todd's down," and that's gonna like really grip you that they have a name. But there's only like a handful of character models.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, here's Big Lady with braids again.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I actually know who you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah, because I think there's only 2 big characters, and it's
Yeah.
like big brown dude,
Yeah.
big white dude, big white lady with braids. I think those are like the 2 big size enemies or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's not often you meet up with them, to be fair, either. There is one part where you meet up with like 4 of them, but that's whatever. It's a video game. It's just a little annoying. Right. Also, that fight by the boat, that dude takes a lot to bring down. Holy shit.
He does. I also realized we skipped over a part, and I don't remember when it is, but the sniper part with Tommy, when you're playing Abby.
You're right. This is when you're going to find Lev. You meet up with Manny.
You meet up with Manny.
Yeah.
Why are you finding on your way back to Lev, you mean? No, I don't think so.
No, you're going to the island with Yara.
So shouldn't Yara be with you?
Yeah, she is. It's right after. Oh, no, wait. Maybe it isn't.
No, she's not. It's just you and Manny.
It might be... When the fuck would that be?
Because there's also the boat part.
Yeah.
Which, remember, I was telling you, like, hey, I'm on a boat, and you're just by yourself. That's when you get the crossbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh my god.
But that sniper part was cool because it's kind of like a chase. That was also probably the one where I had to use the most like med packs in the whole game. Like Tommy's aim on you was like perfect. I also thought it was cool how Tommy kept like shooting the cars near you to like bring all the enemies over towards you. So you had to like fight off these infected while he was sniping you for like a third of your health each hit.
Yeah, he's using the same strats you use as a player, like drawing them towards you and shit. It's very cool.
And it kind of just like showed like, yo, Tommy is like really good at this.
Yeah,
he is so good. And Manny says that too, like, yo, this sniper's insane. So that part was cool. Actually, now that I think about it, Lev or Yara must be there. Because when you knock Tommy off the pier, Abby says to Yara or Lev, whoever it is, we got to get moving.
Yeah.
I just don't remember where they specifically are during the fight, because it's just you and Manny during the fight.
Yeah. Man.
Anyway. You get the boat back. She shows up to the aquarium. She sees her friends dead, which are her last 2 friends at this point.
Yep.
Ellie left her map, so they basically know where the theater is.
Yeah.
You know, you break into the theater, then you do the fight against Ellie.
Yep.
Which Ellie's putting down all of her like traps and stuff. And Abby's like, what is she doing?
Yeah. I thought those were funny. Those like little things.
I died a few too many times to the point where I was just like, oh, screw this. I'm not letting her put any traps down. I just grabbed a brick, ran at her, and threw a brick at her, and then just started hitting her.
That fight was ruined by some weird video gaminess where if you didn't attack her the right way, she just won. Even like sometimes I like got the jump on her, but like because I didn't attack her from behind, it didn't matter.
Oh, that is weird. Yeah. I didn't have
just because
that
video game stuff. So you either had to stun her by throwing something at her or attacking her from behind. Because if you attacked her even when she wasn't like from the side or whatever, it would just be like, nah, Ellie's better, and like kills you. And it's like, well, okay, I guess that's fair.
That fight's super brutal. Like lots of biting. Like,
yeah,
that's a pretty brutal fight between them. Very well animated. This whole game is just super well animated.
It is.
And I can't believe I skipped over this. When you're first playing Ellie and you get into Seattle, the Take On Me moment section, that was awesome.
Which moment?
Where she plays Take On Me for Dina.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I loved that part.
Yeah. Anytime there's the playing... So I streamed this game. Every time those parts were there, I was like, this is dope, but I'm sure this is going to get me in trouble. Playing the copywritten music.
I saw someone, it was on Twitter just real quickly, like, hey, this guitar works pretty well. I wonder if I could play Wonderwall. And then they play the first few chords of Wonderwall.
You can actually play any song.
Yeah.
They're like every major chord is there, so it's very cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's such a weird little thing that they put in there.
Yep.
Okay, anyways, yeah, we talked about it before. Abby wins the fight. She's about to kill Dina, and Ellie, Lev is like, don't.
Yeah.
And then Abby's like, don't let me ever see you again.
Yeah.
It cuts to, I don't know, it's probably got to be a year or so. A year or two, maybe?
Yeah, it's a year.
Later?
Yeah.
Dina and Abby and Ellie have the farm that they had talked about earlier on.
They're
JJ's been
the
born.
Yep.
They got sheep and all this. Tommy shows up, which I was surprised Tommy's alive. I thought he's
like missing an eye, but that's pretty much it.
Is he missing an eye?
I think so, yeah. I can't tell if that was skin over his eye or if it was just like
I think he's just kind of squinty in the eye because he does get like shot in the head.
Yeah.
So I even specifically looked like, oh, does he have an eye patch? Is he missing an eye? I think he has both his eyes.
Does he? Weird.
He does have a limp though.
He does. Yeah, he's like fucked up for sure. He ain't making no more treks across America.
Yeah, and that's what he specifically says, like, hey, I found Abby. I can't do it though.
Yeah.
And then Dina's like, yo, get out of my house with that. Yeah. What are you doing? I was almost surprised that they're still like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This should be over. Like this should be the end of it.
Yeah.
But no, Ellie decides to go to Santa Barbara. Dina has a pretty good line where she's like, hey, Abby doesn't get to be more important than this.
Yeah.
Which, Dina's right. I'm on team Dina. Ellie, you have fucked up too many times now.
Yeah.
So the whole Santa Barbara part, I find it just seemed weird. Like, I don't want to be doing this. This character should not be doing this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's like its own self-contained story. Like, it seemed weird. It almost kind of seemed tacked on.
Yeah, it does. So this isn't necessarily the part that I said feels like a little too long, even though it is, because like they had it ending and then they kept going. Like I feel like the whole game had every part had a little bit too much in it. Oh man, that fucking freeway part with the Seraphites is rough. That's so long, that part. I really think that could have been cut down. But like this last 2 hours did not need to exist for me at all. It's such a bummer.
Yeah, so you play Abby there. Abby is looking for
the Fireflies.
What Owen was talking about. Maybe there are some old Fireflies who have set up a camp here.
Yeah.
She apparently traded a pistol to some guy for info about an address in a suburban place. And Tom even mentions he heard from a trader up in California that he met a girl built like an ox.
Yeah.
So it's got to be her. So Abby does find the Firefly. She finds a communication station and says, yeah, no, if you can get out to us, like, we'll find you.
Yeah.
And then while they're doing that, they get caught by the
Rattlers, which are just another group of
crazy.
Actually, when you start that area off, you see their mark like spray painted on the side of a few places and stuff.
Oh, do you? You don't know what it is though, so
no,
it doesn't mean anything.
Not until like you see them, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's these fucks.
Yeah, you only play as Abby for like
15 minutes,
hour.
maybe. Yeah, half hour.
Pretty quick.
Yep.
Then you play Ellie. She's in a pretty similar area. She kind of goes through a more rich area looking for the downtown of Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
There's a one of the mansions you go through has 2 shamblers in it.
Yep.
That was messed
That's
up.
True. Yep. At some point in this game, I just ran to the end point.
Yeah. So Ellie gets strung up by one of the Rattlers that got Abby.
And
it's a really good moment because Abby gets like stabbed on a tree, so she's there like all day just bleeding, and she's like covered in blood. They cut her down, and then when he's like messing with Ellie by the clicker that's like also hanging, she's like, oh fuck this, like puts herself into like the clicker so that she gets bitten along with that guy, but it doesn't do anything to her, obviously.
Yeah.
And then she shoots the big dude that caught Abby. That's
good.
how she finds out where to go. That was a pretty good moment for sure.
Yeah.
So you sneak through their base.
That part takes so long. Holy shit.
Oh, really?
That base is so long.
I loved that you could like let the infected go and they'll just run for the Rattlers.
Yeah, you shoot their chains off or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know you could shoot them. I was wondering if you could because there's a like a pool that has 2 clickers.
You can shoot the chain, yeah.
So what I did for that pool is I snuck up to the chain part because before you can just go up there and hit triangle on it to let them go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I snuck up to the 2 clickers. It's the only time there's 2 of them locked up.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hit triangle on it because I figured if I hit triangle and stand still, they can't see me. So they'll just go off like everyone else did. But because I was so close to a clicker, it kept wanting me to like grab the clicker.
Oh.
So I kept trying to like move the camera to focus on the chain. And eventually they just like ate me. And I was like,
weird.
okay, screw this. I'm just not even dealing with the clickers.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I can shoot it or something. I just didn't do it.
Yep, you can for sure. It's very cool.
See, I actually thought that part was pretty short.
Oh, I
It's
thought
like 2 combat encounters.
Wow, it took me a long time. That part felt very long to me.
Because like that part, I felt like I was just like murder machine. Like I had everything. I had all the guns and everything. Like I was really like I could. It got to the point where I was no longer like scared of anyone. It was like, oh, I know exactly how to manipulate this combat puzzle.
You get a new gun there too, right? You get the fucking
you get the silenced
assault
machine
rifle.
gun.
Yeah.
Which I actually wasn't a huge fan of. Like,
No, it
you need a
sucked.
lot of bullets to take someone down.
Yeah. No, it definitely sucked.
Silenced pistol and the bow and arrow for the win. Like, hell yeah.
Oh my god, did you get the rangefinder for the bow and arrow? It's so good.
Yeah.
It shows shows you exactly how high to hold it or whatever. Man, it sucks not having that for a while because that's a game changer.
Because the arrows arc.
Yeah. Very cool.
Then you basically just find the prisoners, let them out. At that point, it's like pretty much the end of the game.
It is, yeah.
You like the whole place is like under attack, so you just kind of like walk your way out to Abby, who's been strung up on some like oceanside pillars for what is probably days, knowing these weirdos.
Yeah. We're trying to escape.
Yeah. You let her down. She lets Lev down. She looks terrible. You like show them to a boat, and then you fight Abby in just like the weird. I didn't even like this fight. It was just like weirdly gamey. Like, okay, I'll dodge you 3 times, punch you a few times. I'll dodge you
Super
3
gamey.
times, punch you a few times. And eventually you just like let her go. She bites off 2 of your fingers, so things just got worse. Yet again, another reason you shouldn't have done this, Ellie.
Yeah.
And yeah, she just, I don't even know like what I wanted because it's like I don't want either of them to die at this point. But like,
man, what if it let you choose though? Like
that would have been crazy.
Right?
That's what I was thinking. Is they're going to make you choose that? I definitely thought that. The other idea I had is it was going to be a scenario where it would keep bouncing back and forth between the 2 of them, like playable.
Yeah, until you fucked up with one.
Especially once they make you do that 30-minute section with Abby. Then they go to Ellie again for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So, but what I thought it was is like, oh, that part with Abby's pretty short. I wonder if they're going to keep going back and forth until we like meet up, and then we're going to have to team up, and we're going to have to be like unlikely allies. That's what I thought was going to happen. Obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah, because by the end, like Abby does not want to fight you. You cut her down.
I didn't realize it had been so long.
Yeah.
I didn't find that collectible, and so I assumed when Ellie got caught, it was going to be like, okay, they're both going to be in jail together. I bet we're going to have to work together to break out.
That would have kind of been cool, actually. Yeah.
That's what mine was. But again, I couldn't come up with like, well, how do you end this? Like, are they just going to part ways again? Because that just happened back in Seattle. Like, why would you just repeat that
again?
Ending?
Yeah.
But that's what they do.
Oh.
They let Abby go. Which it was actually interesting because Abby's like, I'm not going to fight you. And Ellie's like, yes, you are. I'm going to kill Lev. So then Abby gets like super strong again and it's hard to fight.
Yeah.
Which I was actually surprised. I thought she was just going to be like a pushover because she looks like a corpse, basically.
I think it would have been cool if there's a part where like right before that fight ends where you're holding the button down and she's like strangling her under the water and drowning her.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool point to be like, do you want to let go and like let her up, or do you want to like hold the button and keep her dead or until she dies or something? And then like you don't even really need to change the ending that much, but like as the player, just the fact that there's that agency, like
the choice,
it would have been kind of interesting if that choice was in there. They're collecting that info, and then like a month later, they're like, this is what everybody chose. How many people killed Abby? How many people let her live? That would have been cool. Man.
Or they just show you like right afterwards, just like a Telltale game.
Or, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
After like a bunch of people have played it, I'd be interested to see how many people let her go.
Yeah, I would have been interested too. That would have been interesting for sure.
And then it ends in the most like grossly saccharine, depressing thing where it's just like Ellie can no longer play guitar because she can't got the fingers, anymore. And it made me laugh really hard because
she goes back to the farmhouse. It's been cleared out except for like basically Ellie's room of like music and stuff. Her stuff is there. She can't play the guitar.
It made me laugh so hard because it's just so heavy-handed. Like, oh no, the guitar.
Yeah. Well, it's just really hammering home. Like,
that she lost.
This wasn't a good idea. She leaves the guitar.
Yeah.
And then that basically just ends. The final shot afterwards, like the main menu changes to show Abby's boat outside of some big circular building, which I believe is what the Firefly said you need to find us. So it's kind of it's you kind of you assume Abby and Lev made it to the Fireflies they were looking for in Santa Barbara.
I didn't even recognize that.
I'm pretty sure that was because I'm pretty sure the guy said like, hey, we're at this building, get near us and we'll find you. I'm pretty sure that's the building he was talking about.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know where else Abby would have gone.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the game. So I don't love the story. It's okay. I feel like they definitely wanted... This definitely feels like a game that they really wanted to showcase a new character, Abby, and almost felt like they were obligated to do something with Joel and Ellie. And it would have kind of been nice maybe if it was like... I don't know. Somebody... I can't remember who said this, but somebody online said this almost feels like part 3, and then like part 2 would have been like them finding Jackson, and like we get a little more time with them, and then they like something happens to Joel or whatever, and then you can introduce Abby properly. It feels like this game takes on a lot into it, and I think that's what maybe kills the pacing for me in a lot of points. There's a lot going on in this game that I feel like...
Yeah, I don't know if I would have agreed with like a middle chapter of them finding Jackson, because to me that just sounds almost like nothing substantial would have really happened there. It would have just been like, and they went through more zombie areas.
Well, you would have got like the character development of Abby Ellie dealing with Joel, what Joel did.
But wouldn't that have just been her like angry?
Yeah, I mean that's what this game is.
No, but I mean, like it like if you were playing Joel and Ellie knows now, wouldn't that? But also, she didn't know until like a few years into Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Because those flashbacks are not all from 4 years ago. That some of them are 3, 2, 1.
Some of them are like the day before.
Yeah, like so that part couldn't have really worked.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Abby as a character. I like kind of what she goes through as well.
Yeah, she's fine. I don't understand any hate towards her like no more than any other character in this, honestly.
Right, like it's almost hard for me to say that I like Abby because like she does kill Joel, which sucks. That really sucks. But by the end of the game, I feel like you should like Abby. Well, and I think Ellie's the villain. Like Ellie takes things way too far. Abby saves or like lets Ellie go twice.
Maybe. I think Ellie should have killed Abby.
Crazy.
I would have liked that more for me. Like, I empathize more with Ellie, but I can sympathize with Abby, so I'm okay. But, like, I still hate Abby in terms of the, like, characters.
I mean, I'm just trying to think about, like, how would I have changed the ending? And I can't, like, nothing really seems satisfying if one of them dies. Like, if Abby had, like, killed Ellie, and that we didn't get the farmhouse part, it would have just been like, okay, well, I guess that's that. Don't mess with Abby.
It probably should have just ended at the farmhouse. Like, end with the farmhouse and then show, like, Abby get captured or whatever. And then it's like you have a thing that you could dig into for Last of Us 3 if you wanted to. Start it off there or something.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of it like, if let's say there's not going to be another one, like how would you have ended it? I do think the farmhouse would have made the most sense.
Yeah.
But then again, part of you would have just been like, well, what happened to Abby? I guess that's just the end of it. Like, would you have had to make like an epilogue for both of them? And that epilogue would have just been like Abby getting to the Fireflies if we're not trying to like set up some kind of cliffhanger. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how you do it either. Weird. And then like,
yeah,
it makes me wonder what The Last of Us is even like, the series is even about. Because at first I kind of thought it was about like Joel and Ellie in a post-apocalypse ravaged by this weird fungus or something. And then this game is kind of more like, took more of the like Walking Dead thing of like the real monsters are the people and like how society crumbles and revenge and stuff like that. And it's like, is this basically, was Last of Us 2 a story about what happens to Ellie, or is it just kind of what's happening in like this world in general? Because the first game felt like it was very much Joel and Ellie. That's what this Last of Us is about. This feels like, no, it's more about like what's going on with people just in general.
I mean, I think the first game has plenty of moments of like, here's some weird people in the apocalypse that you have to deal with.
They don't focus on it nearly as much as they do in this, though.
I think that might just be a byproduct of how long this game is.
Yeah, maybe.
But I do feel like kind of with all zombie fiction, like the longer you go into the apocalypse,
yeah, the
less zombies become a threat, just because people figure out how to deal with them. So the people have to become a threat.
Sure.
Right. So I mean, I think it is a what was the next story for Ellie / living in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's both. Would you want a Last of Us 3?
I didn't want it to, honestly. But so I mean, no. But I'll
I'm of two minds. I didn't want a Last of Us 2, but I'm glad we did get one. I do like this game. Like I enjoyed my whole time with it.
Honestly, I liked how the first one ended. I think this game is good, and I had a fun time with it. I would have liked it better if it didn't exist.
I don't think this takes away from the first one's ending, though.
It absolutely does.
No, I don't think they necessarily impact each other. Like, I think one can stand on its own as like, this is a great thing. It's so good by itself. I think of similarly like the 999 series.
Okay.
One is super good, and
sure.
It was one is a great thing on its own. It's fantastic, and 2 and 3 are not as strong as 1. I don't think they make 1 worse by the fact that they do share a canonical storyline.
No, but something better could have been made that wasn't Last of Us, especially with like the time and commitment that was put into this, I think. And like, I don't know, it retroactively makes me not really like Ellie's character that much because I know what a fucking dipshit she becomes.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, I don't think you're supposed to come out of Last of Us 2 liking Ellie's character.
No.
Like, I think that's the point of it. Again, though, like, that doesn't mean I didn't like her character when I played 1.
Yeah, I mean, she barely had one. She was a kid, so she was just kind of there, I guess.
She's a huge part of 1. What are you talking about? That whole game.
She doesn't have a lot of character. She's like a kid. She's not supposed to really.
I mean, I haven't played in a while. You're more fresh. I remember her having tons of personality with
personality. Doesn't mean character.
Yes, it does.
She had good filler lines every now and then. She didn't really like do anything. She was a plot device in the first one. Joel was the one that like went through trials and tribulations. Ellie kind of existed.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree. I think Ellie was a much rounder of a character than you're saying she is.
Well, you're wrong
in that first
and that's
game.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. Either way, I don't know. Like, this game's fine. I just don't think it needed to exist.
If they make another story DLC, I'm not sure if they've commented on it. I haven't heard one way or the other. If they make a like Left Behind, what would you want it to be about? Like a 3-hour thing.
Like maybe Jesse? I don't know. It would have been kind of cool to see what...
So when would you set it?
Maybe... I don't really want to set it to like him meeting up with Dina and Ellie. What about like the night before or something? With the dance? Well, they kind of did that part in the flashbacks.
Yeah, see, that makes me think Jesse's not a great idea.
I just like Jesse.
You could do something with like maybe like Abby's past, like her and Owen as like teenagers.
Yeah, maybe.
Although I feel like that would be kind of too similar to like Ellie's past as like a younger version. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think your idea of doing something with
what the easy
Isaac
one is?
would be good.
You do Lev and Yara.
Yeah, Lev and Yara. That would actually be kind of cool.
Oh, actually, you know what though? Lev didn't do anything super crazy until he shaved his head, so it would just be like them being scars. You know, but you know what? Actually, I take that back because here's my mind map. You said it as Lev and Yara.
Okay.
The game ends with Lev shaving his head.
Okay.
But it's it's like quote unquote female long hair version of Lev.
Yeah.
Or Lily, I should say. It's Lily and Yara.
Yeah,
right?
But pre-transition.
It's like set around like a mission where they're taking on the wolves or something, and all the dialogue is Lily kind of talking about what he is going through internally.
So like I agree. I think that would be fucking dope. Man, that's gonna be toxic shit on the internet. I think that'd be great.
That wouldn't stop me from wanting to explore that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to let shitbirds do that. I will say that I bet it would be an undertaking for Naughty Dog to get right. It would be hard, but I think that sounds like a cool idea.
Yep.
You could also do some kind of weird epilogue with like Isaac. I don't know who would be like going up against Isaac. I wouldn't want to play as Isaac.
Yeah, no, fuck Isaac. Isaac's the worst, dude. Fucking psychopath.
That's the only like loose end I could think of.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do. I mean, I would play it. That's the thing, is that even though like I don't think this needed to exist, I'm like, I'll probably check out whatever they do with it if they do more.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing is like I didn't need a 2. I liked that we got one. I thought that this game is real good. Even any issues I have with the story alone, the production value is just off the chart.
It's
like
crazy.
It's one of the best looking games we have, in my opinion. Like the repeated assets are like bare minimum. Like those environments are absolutely gorgeous.
They're very good. I felt a little bit bad enjoying it though, just knowing like what their stance is on crunch and stuff. Like it's
that is totally valid.
It's this weird, like, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it's this weird dichotomy in me where like every time I saw something that was really cool, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Some kid didn't get their dad's, like, to visit their dance recital because of that.
No, yeah. That's totally valid. Like,
and that's weird.
This totally, it brings up the whole conversation of, like, can you separate kind of the artist from their art?
And it sucks because, like, I understand. It's weird, too. Like, you need that kind of commitment and people to do that much work to get out a product that's this good. But like, is it worth it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say you need that kind of commitment because that would be saying crunch is inevitable and this thing cannot exist without crunch.
Yeah.
The way around this is the game takes longer to put out.
Yeah.
And that costs some more money for like everyone involved.
Yeah.
But that's how you avoid crunch.
And then
I feel like that's just what needs to happen. Whether that be like $70 games next generation, this is a huge conversation.
I was actually going to ask you that if this game had come out in like 6 months, was this like amazing looking and everything, and like cost another $10 or $20 because they didn't force their like employees or whatever to crunch, would you pay it? Would you pay the like fee for basically humanity?
Right. I mean, that's a weird conversation. The question is like, do I think that extra $10 is going to the devs?
Yeah,
or
that's the thing.
Is it, right? The cynical part is like, or is the publisher just totally seeing this next gen bump skimming as an easy way to increase the prices and stuff? And it's true. Like, I'm currently in a place in my life where I can
afford that.
I can afford an extra $10.
Yeah.
There was definitely significant parts of my life where that would have really sucked for me, and it would mean getting significantly less games every year.
Sure.
I think this also increases the value of Game Pass.
It does. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yep.
So there's different sides of the coin. So yes, I would have been fine waiting. I'm always fine waiting for a game to come out longer. like I'm in no way am I ever going to get mad at a game getting delayed because I want that game to be good.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Especially as someone who's going to like most likely play it day one, week one, when it might be at its roughest in terms of the amount of bugs and pre-patches. I want the game to be good when I'm going to play it. So like I'm fine waiting, paying a bit more. But do I think that money's going directly to the developers?
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Part of me, like I there's no way I'll ever know that answer, right?
Sure.
No one's ever going to show me like their whole business plan and their financials and how that money is directly affecting people. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But part of me, I like to think that whenever I hear teams talk about crunch or weird work conditions, or even things like with a Telltale getting like imploding, all the developers I ever hear from are always like, "Hey, regardless of what happened, I still want you to play that game that I like.
We spent a lot of time into
18 months into and stuff."
Yep.
So it's going to be different for different people. I do think it is worth bringing up though. Like I'm glad you mentioned the crunch part.
It's weird because
that is a huge thing.
I thought about it the whole time, and you know what? I wouldn't have if this game looked worse. For some reason, it's because this game has so much polish and so many things that I was just like, man, that would have taken a lot of work, and it like brought crunch into my mind instantly.
You know what thing really made me think about, and I saw this on Twitter, people talking about it, other game devs, was the like rope mechanics of being able to like spool it up and like throw it through a window and then have it go taut and everything.
It's so good.
I bet that ruined someone's like week coding that. That sounds so difficult.
Yeah, and it's so cool. And they kind of only use it like 4 times. It's really good too. You would have thought they'd use it like all the time. Yeah,
that's the thing about it. Like they use so many things like one time. Like you'll go into like a record store. You're never going to see those record store ever again. But they modeled a gorgeous looking, totally destroyed, record store. Like the assets are insane.
Yeah, anyway. Absolutely insane.
All right, Deadly Premonition 2 is out, so I want to go have dinner and play that.
Okay.
Any final thoughts on Last of Us 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these games where I didn't love the story and the characters are okay, but like the game, it's just such a well-made game that like I can't hate it. So, I think
that's a good point. I had a friend ask me today, "Hey, have you played Last of Us?" Because he usually asks me, what are you playing these days? And I said, "Yeah, I just finished it up."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I got a PS4 last year. I was kind of gonna go back through some of the stuff I missed. Should I play Last of Us 2? Do you think I'd like it?" And I said, "I think you should play Last of Us 1 first."
Yep, for sure.
And then go through it. And he was like, "Well, I kind of want to be a part. Like 2's the new hotness." And I'm like, "I totally get that. I'm that guy."
Yeah.
I think you gotta play 1 first.
Yeah, I agree. One felt definitely like. I don't know. It was just such a good story, and good character building, good character writing. This game honestly had that stuff too, but it just didn't hit me right and took too long to get to some stuff, and then made some decisions that I thought were maybe out of character and poor on a lot of the characters' behalfs. Maybe Joel shouldn't have trusted random people. Maybe Ellie should have just let things go when she had things okay. Maybe Abby should have let things go many times. Like, I don't know. Just kind of infuriating watching.
That's the thing. Yeah, revenge is poison. Yep. All right, cool. I think that should do it. Thanks to everyone who did listen to this, and stay tuned for the next regular episode sometime next week.
Bye.
Bye.